But I think an even more alarming thing about the Nets right now is that it feels like Jacque Vaughn has lost the locker room. I thought Jacque Vaughn was a great coach. He definitely fooled me when he had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. He looked very good. But recently, he talked on the Nets' woes, and he said, we need each other. I'm not a Hall of Fame coach, and we have no all-stars on our team. And so this is a collective group that has to play together on every single night, and we'll continue to grasp that ideal, but that's the challenge for this group. They're on a 4-game losing streak. He practically tanked the game against the Bucks, where the Bucks blew them out. Mikal played 12 minutes. Cam Thomas played 12 minutes. They lost to the Wizards. He subbed Cam Thomas out late in that game when Cam Thomas was starting to get a groove. They lost to OKC 124-108. They lost to the Pelicans 112-85. The Nets are in a tricky situation right now because I don't know if trading players is the best pathway forward for them because they don't own any of their pinks. So just straight up tanking is not going to help this team improve long term. But hearing Jacque Vaughn have this quote was disappointing to me. Because it wasn't long ago when I remembered Kenny Atkinson was inherited one of the worst Nets teams that any coach could inherit. And instead of making excuses like this and demeaning himself as a coach in the process and his players, he just stuck it out and developed. D'Lo was a lost cause, came to the Nets, had upside, became an all-star. Dinwiddie averaged 20, was close to being an all-star. Jared Allen became one of the better rim-running and defensive centers in the NBA. Joe Harris was great as a three-point shooter. I mean, that team's rotations, the players who played the most minutes were D'Lo, Dinwiddie, LeVert, Jared Allen, Joe Harris, DeMarre Carroll, and Allen Crabbe. That's what Kenny Atkinson had. That's what he led to the playoffs. He didn't complain. So hearing Jacque Vaughn complain with a team that I think is more talented than that old Nets roster, I think is disappointing for all Nets fans to hear because this team is not a terrible team. Does it have a lot of role players on it? Yes, but it's not a terrible team. And it's clear that you're seeing the mismanagement that Jacque Vaughn has been doing with the Nets. He benched Cam Thomas as of recently.
That was dumb.
Mikal Bridges has regressed as an offensive player. The lineups, the substitutions. Jacque Vaughn is very much a motivator. He's not an X's and O's guy. And I think that's holding back the Nets right now. And they might have to make a decision sooner rather than later on his coaching.
Can I ask you a question, Joel? Did he lie?
He didn't lie.
So what's the problem?
Quote had me crying.
I think the problem is that this is not something that you say.
The only thing that I firmly believe is self-awareness is key. He did not lie. He's not a Hall of Fame coach. He's not calling himself a bad coach. He's just saying, I'm not an all-time great coach. I'm still young. I still have my ways to go. We don't have an all-star. They don't have an all-star. Mikal Bridges is a solid player. Cam Thomas, he is a volume shooter. Cam Johnson has great efficiency. I used the word volume shooter to
Cam Thomas is not good.
The unfortunate truth. He's a volume shooter.
Scorer,
How about we just keep that volume shooter? That's what he is. He's a volume shooter.
Okay. He can put the ball in the hoop.
He is good.
My whole point.
What can he do?
Saying he's not good.
Score.
Like, he
That's
can
it.
score.
Inefficiently?
He doesn't score inefficiently.
He's
He's
okay
a
efficiently.
volume shooter. And
What
then
else can he do?
His last game was horrendous.
He gets to the rim at an insanely high rate.
Also, his minutes be wishy-washy. Like, sometimes he's out the start
What
lineup,
else
sometimes
can
starts.
he do?
I think you're being way too critical on Cam Thomas
Is he Jalen Green?
because Jalen Green, he's been playing better as of late.
Is that just the equivalent?
Or there's
No,
somebody who
I think they play differently.
If they can't get a bucket, what are they doing for?
That's
all I mean.
Okay.
I think
Maybe
they play
not good
differently.
with strong. For
I
sure.
think you're being.
Yeah, you are being strong.
I think you're being harsh, and you're being harsh because it's very unfair to blame Cam Thomas for his situation because we've seen when he gets consistent minutes and is able to get into a rhythm, he can score, and he can score efficiently. Before he got hurt, he was shooting close to 50% from the field. The three-point efficiency wasn't that great, but it wasn't terrible either. Ever since he's come back from his injury, Jacque Vaughn has benched him. When Cam Thomas has had stretches of scoring great in games, he has been brought to the bench by Jacque Vaughn. And I think it's very hard as a player when you're going into every game and you don't have a defined role and you don't know when the next time you could be substituted out is.
Joel, you know why he goes to the bench, though, right?
I know he's not a good defender.
He can't do anything else.
If he's not scoring for you, he's not a positive.
It's 0 for 11.
0 for 11, 0 for 4 from 3.
He literally cannot defend well. He's not a good player. He doesn't even keep his eyes up to make a good pass. If he's not scoring and scoring in an isolation matter, he can't do anything else. So maybe not good was very strong, and I can admit that.
Yes.
I can take accountability.
I agree.
That was extreme. What I do want to say is he's just not getting benched just because he has an undefined role. No, Jacque Vaughn. It's clear what Jacque Vaughn wants. He wants a defensive-oriented team. If you don't give him that defense on the other side,
they're bottom, what is it, 17?
Which is insane. I don't know what he's trying to do, but like Cam Thomas, he gets benched because at times he's not defending well, and he's not keeping his eyes up. He's not passing the ball. He's not outside of scoring. He can't do anything else.
There are times he gets benched for that, but versus the Wizards in the fourth quarter, the Nets were not able to generate any offense, and Cam Thomas was getting buckets late in the game, and he got subbed out right after that. Not doing things wrong, and Jacque Vaughn subbing him out. I think it's very hard for a young player, especially a 22-year-old, to continue to have confidence when his coach clearly doesn't have confidence in him. I think Cam Thomas, he's already shown his flashes. I think if he has a coach that is able to coach him and not just bench him whenever he doesn't see fit, Cam Thomas can improve. The defense might not, there's not much improvement for that, but the passing there is, being more unselfish as a teammate, there is. I think with Cam Thomas, you have to live with the good and bad of his play style, and his play style oftentimes leads to good with the Nets. He is the Nets' best shot creator, and that's not saying much, but it's clear that he can create his own shot better than anybody on that team. And you talk about Jacque Vaughn wanting to be defensively oriented. Well, there's no excuse not to be, because Cam Thomas might be the black hole in that defense, but Mikal Bridges was a former DPOY candidate. His defense has really fell off in Brooklyn. And am I going to attribute all of that to Mikal? I think some of that has to do with coaching. Jacque Vaughn recently started to experiment with a lineup of Dorian Finney-Smith, Dinwiddie, Mikal, Cam Johnson, and then Claxton. Claxton is one of the better rim protectors in basketball. He deters players from going to the basket. One of the better defenders in the league. For sure. They don't have a good defense still. So at some point you have to ask, is it the players or is it the philosophy? And I think it's the philosophy.
It's interesting because a couple of years back with Jacque Vaughn, they had one of the better defenses.
I don't want to make this solely about Cam Thomas, but when Cam Thomas scores over 20 points, the Nets have a 2-8 record. When he scores less than 20 points, or 25 points, pardon me, they have a 9-2 record. I don't want to say that's directly pointed at him because I think that's unfair, but
he hinders their offense.
I don't want to say he hinders because their offense is very.
It's not good.
It's not good, but at the same time,
their offense is better than their defense, which is shocking.
Yeah,
they're 24th ranked defense, so
yeah.
The offense is what, 17th?
That's what it was, 17th.
Offense is actually 13th.
Really?
24th defensive rating, 13th offense.
But I feel like when it comes to that, the Nets don't win as is. So I'd be interested to see what their record is with Mikal scoring over 20 points.
I can look it up.
It might be a little bit better,
It wasn't
19.
good last year. It was like a 500.
They were on Sharp's been a nice piece for them.
Another
He's a really good backup pick.
Another thing that I do want to say is I don't have a problem with this because you traded Harden, you traded Kyrie, you traded KD. What were we to expect to happen from the Brooklyn Nets? Were you still supposed to win?
12-6. When Mikal scores over 20 points, 12-6.
These are their 4 most played lineups. Their first most played lineup is Dinwiddie, Mikal, Cam Johnson, Finney-Smith, and Claxton. It's plus 3.3 difference, so they're a positive team. Their second most played lineup is Dinwiddie, Cam Thomas, Mikal, Cam Johnson, and Claxton. It's minus 16.7. So this lineup is worse with Cam Thomas, and with Finney-Smith is much better. Their third best lineup is with Dinwiddie, Mikal, Cam Johnson, Finney-Smith, and Day'Ron Sharpe, plus 44. Their fourth best lineup is with Ben Simmons, Dinwiddie, Cam Thomas, Mikal, and Finney-Smith, so going small at a plus 26. I actually do think that Ben Simmons getting hurt was
it definitely hindered
really
them.
bad for them because he was the playmaker. I mean, Dinwiddie's assists are very fake.
Okay, so Cam Thomas, when he's on the court, their offensive rating, 25 games, 113.93. When he's off, it shoots up to 119.91. Defensive rating, when he's on the court, they're 123.17.
Yuck.
When he's off, they're 114.18. So they're quite literally a positive team when he's not on the court. Not a good look, but I do agree with the fact that he doesn't have a defined role, so it's hard as a rookie. But I remember watching Paul George's podcast, and he was talking about how Danny Granger used to tell him to wait for a young player, and Kawhi told DeJounte Murray this, the way for a young player to get on the court consistently is to play defense. Just show an effort. Be dive on the ball for loose balls, be engaged, talk. So like if you can do that, a coach is gonna see, okay, he's giving me effort, keep him on the court. And then you start showing him the extra shit. Start showing him the toolbox, what you got in the bag. So I think to go on the quote was very I'm in the middle. I think he could have worded it differently. I think that was a little crazy.
What would you have liked him to say?
Say, just not. I don't have any all-stars.
We have to play better team basketball.
Or maybe we have to be a better unit.
Essentially all he said was,
he basically said my players are not that good. I'm not that good. That's crazy. That's lack of confidence.
That's what he said.
We don't have any all-stars.
You don't have to say.
I feel like Bridges could be an all-star. Not this year. I'm saying he has the talent to be an all-star.
I just feel like there's certain ways to go about it. He could have said it differently for sure. You could have kept.
We have to share the ball
that's
better.
Putting your confidence
we have to play more like a team.
And how does that resonate in the locker room?
Now they looking at you like, what the fuck you talking to? Yeah. Like, I'm nice. Like now they going in there like now they looking at him.
Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe
thank you. That agreed.
But I think this counter.
He's right.
To counteract that point though.
Oh come on, Joel. We were about to agree. I know.
I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But this team is filled with veterans, bro.
Yeah.
I think all of them know what they are. Right. I think if anything, this quote can be taken as him just speaking directly to Cam Thomas. Because the only player that's trying to play like an all-star is one guy, clearly. So, I think...
and Dinwiddie, too.
Yes, and Dinwiddie. So, going into the media and saying this, I just think there's way better ways to say it. I mean, we can share the ball better, play better as a team. I mean, things like that.
They also
I know he was very blunt.
They don't have their 2024 pick or 2025.
No, they're
they go to Houston.
And so this is a collective group that has to play together every single night, and we'll continue to grasp that ideal. But that's the challenge for this group.
So you wasn't gonna read the rest.
Don't play team basketball.
He could have just said all that, and that would have been fine.
So him just saying, I'm not a Hall of Fame coach, which he's accepting accountability on his regard.
Where's the confidence?
Saying I'm not a Hall of Fame coach isn't really taking accountability.
It's just telling everybody you're not good.
Yeah,
I'm not that good.
The equivalent for a coach and for these players
Drew,
is,
you're a GM.
Yes.
I'm at the podium.
Yes.
You're at the podium. Yeah, we just lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
My best player went 0 for 11. I go up there and I'm like, listen,
0 for 11?
Yes.
Okay,
I
that's
go up
horrible.
there, and you're my GM. I go up there and I say, yo, listen, man, I'm not a Hall of Fame coach. My players ain't really all-stars. You're not going to look at me like, what the fuck is he talking about?
It's figure it the fuck out with
if
what
I'm
you got.
If I'm the GM, I won't say I love it.
It's like,
I
what
don't
does he
love
say?
it.
You definitely going to have a conversation with me after, like, what was that?
If I'm, let's say a GM.
But if you're the GM, you're also self-aware. Yo, my team is mid.
But you don't say that out loud.
You don't admit it.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Monty Williams just cried after winning one game after
Monty
28.
Deservedly so.
But Drew, I'm saying, if he can still
Has he
prop
said
up
all
his
year that
guys,
we ain't shit? He has not said
Jacque
one
Vaughn
time
shouldn't
we
say
ain't
that.
shit all
He
year.
should.
He should, but he hasn't. He hasn't, right?
We're all saying
Jacque
it.
Vaughn has like 12 more wins than them. He hasn't one time. Like Monty hasn't said one time. We are garbage this year.
The thing is, there's bad, and then there's what the Pistons are.
And what is he doing? He's like, we're a confident group. We'll get better.
What are you confident about?
Because you got to show face. You got to have
So,
respect.
Riv, keep it a stack with me. Keep it a stack.
I'm a different type of human.
Would you rather have your coach sit up at that podium
and lie?
And lie?
100%.
That's what basically.
I don't need the media.
That's what every coach does. If we're keeping a stack.
That is what every coach
and
does.
every
Steve
GM
Kerr
does.
bro. Steve Kerr's been lying since October.
We ask these
AJ Brown
coaches
just
and
hyped
these
up Brian
players.
Johnson today. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? But that's what they do.
But we ask these coaches and these players to be honest with us.
Be
just
honest
keep
with
it
you.
a stack.
No,
when it comes to
and
your
he
team,
keeps it a stack for the first time.
When it comes to your team and your players, I want that to be the shit you got to figure out. I want that in house, and
Y'all
you just
losing right now.
show
That's not
you
something
show
you say at the
confidence to the
moment.
media and outside, and in house
I'm
it's
just
like,
not
yo,
mad at him.
X,
keeping
Y,
it
and
a
Z's
buck.
got to improve.
Let it be known they all need to be
You know what
traded.
it is? It's someone like if I need you to keep me in check, I need some accountability, and
I
you
would tell
tell
you
me,
that in
yo,
private.
keep it.
I wouldn't tell you that in a
I'm not
group
going
full
on the
of people.
podcast. Be like, Drew, like, come on, what the fuck you
He
doing?
does tell me to do my job on
I have a
on-
question. I have a question for Drew. Did you like Sean Payne's comments towards Russell Wilson in the beginning of the season?
But he's a new coach, and
got
Russ is
you.
a veteran. This
Sean
is a bunch
Payne's
of
Vaughn
He's a
ain't
vet.
no experience.
no, they're
coach.
not. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not. But the rest of the Nets, they're all relatively young. He's talking about Cam Thomas, essentially. You mentioned that. He's talking about Cam Thomas.
He's
and
also
that's the
talking about
facts.
playing team basketball. You're the coach,
There
bro.
that's true.
You're the one
That's
got to
true.
figure
I
this
mean, you
shit
look at
out.
that roster. They ain't got no playmaker.
Yeah, I mean, they're in purgatory. They're, you know, what I mean,
they're just they're stuck. They
are
don't
stuck.
have their picks, and they're about to not be good, and they don't want to trade these.
They're gonna
players.
Can I
they're gonna be
also
playing
ask
this.
you a question? There is a difference, but is there that much of a difference from what Jacque Vaughn did and then it being reported, hey, they had a closed doors meeting where it got heated. There was some really strong words.
I feel like
Isn't
they
that
be lying.
essentially the same thing?
I feel like they be lying when they say shit like that, though.
Like the one that I'm thinking of mostly is the Ime with the Celtics, that they really had to sit down and define roles, and Ime took control of that situation. Is there that strong of a difference from
He didn't
that
go in there and
being
say
leaked?
Tatum ain't that good, Brown ain't
No,
that
essentially
good.
he said, hey, JB, you're not the one. You're not the one. Jason Tatum needs to be our one. He needs to be our leader. That's how we can.
Jacque Vaughn just said we don't have a 1. We don't have a 2. We don't have a 3.
He just said we lack talent. That's what he
We're
said.
just not good.
No, he said we don't have any all-stars. He didn't lie. We don't have
I
all-stars.
I don't believe nobody's here saying he didn't lie.
Okay.
we're just saying there's a way to go about things.
on,
and
man.
There's just certain things. you could-
Ime was calling out players, but he wasn't calling out.
Disrespecting.
He wasn't calling out their entire game as a whole. Like Jacque Vaughn is essentially saying, you guys don't have the talent to be all-stars. Like, we don't have all-stars. Where Ime was, from every specific game, calling out shit that players didn't do right. That's what he was doing. He wasn't saying, listen, Jaylen Brown, he's not good enough to be that. He can't be that. Like, he can't do it. Or he wasn't calling out Marcus Smart, saying Marcus Smart he's not Tatum. He can't be taking more shots. Like, he didn't say those things. I think Jacque Vaughn was a little too honest. I know I'm not saying he wasn't honest, but I'm saying there's a different way to go about it. And when you're a coach and you're coaching a team like this, you're the one that has to get them bought in together. And the fact that he hasn't is telling on him more so than the players, because I think if Kenny Atkinson had this team will be good. This team, we'd be looking at this team as a real gritty team that wins every other night. Right
Oh, Lord
now,
have mercy.
we view them
You
as
were a Jacque Vaughn stan a couple seasons ago.
Jacque Vaughn
That was
this
your
year,
guy.
Jacque Vaughn this year fell off. He fell off. I don't know what happened offseason. He fell off. He's not the same guy. He's not the same
Talent
coach.
fell off mightily.